Oh, hello there, and welcome to Weekly Lit, episode 28, the Ulysses 100 episode. We're taking a break from the wildly popular Midwinter Shakespeare's Fest to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the publication of James Joyce's Ulysses. So February 2nd, 2022 is the 100th anniversary. So we're going to read a little excerpt from Ulysses tonight, and February 1st today coincides with the beginning of course, Irish Literature Month, which runs through St. Patrick's Day and comes back at various times during the year as well. So we'll open our celebration there. And anyway, as always, feel free to share this, make comments, and subscribe. If you have comments you want to send privately, weeklylit@gmail.com is the email address. And so, Ulysses, as you might know, is a favorite of mine, and great seminal work of Irish literature, 100 years old, and in many ways, it is a product of its time, but by the same token, vastly ahead of its time. Ulysses is similar to Hamlet in that it contains all of humanity, and anything you want to find about humanity is contained in the book, and that's my reading of it, and I'm not the only one. And it has a reputation for being difficult to read, but it's always worth jumping into. Let it wash over you. Don't worry about following any guides or roadmaps or anything like that. If you get to the third section and the stream of consciousness is too abstract, then plow through it or skip over that one and keep going. But it's a great time of year to pick up Ulysses, and the excerpt I'm going to be reading from today is from a part of the Cyclops section. And so the Cyclops section is unique in that the narrator is unnamed. It's not Leopold Bloom, because the unnamed narrator and a couple of fellows he runs into in the bar actually discuss Leopold Bloom somewhat obliquely. But so it is in first person narration form. For the most part, it jumps around a little bit, which is no surprise. But it's not named. There are some who opine that the unnamed narrator is Simon Daedalus. But and there's something to be said for that. So if you have an opinion on that, put it in the comments, and maybe we'll revisit that at a later date. If you have an opinion or a thought on who the narrator might be. So we will be returning after this episode to part 3, the final section, or the final episode of this year's Midwinter's Shakespeare Fest, with other good things to come. But anyway, right now we'll move on to the excerpt from Cyclops. Excuse me. So this section begins with, the Cyclops section begins with the narrator almost getting his eye poked out by a chimney sweeper's broom handle, and then running into another fellow that he knows, Joe. And we'll skip ahead to a section which is really a parody section, and it's parodying the Irish folk legends and playing up of Irish heroes. So there's a list of Irish heroes that's very expansive in the middle, and I won't spoil that, but it's quite expansive. And as I've said, it reflects a spirit that I've mentioned many times. That it's very funny. Of course, the Irish invented humor and music, and probably the wheel, discovered America. And so this is a parody by showing the tendency perhaps to overstate things a little bit, which I have heard has not been verified, but I've heard that is a sort of an Irish stereotype. So We'll see. Anyway, this is the parody section that carries through into a discussion in the bar. The figure seated on a large boulder at the foot of a round tower was that of a broad-shouldered, deep-chested, strong-limbed, frank-eyed, red-haired, freely freckled, shaggy-bearded, wide-mouthed, large-nosed, long-headed, deep-voiced, bare-kneed, brawny-handed, hairy-legged, ruddy-faced, sinewy-armed hero. From shoulder to shoulder he measured several ells, and his rock-like mountainous knees were covered, as was likewise the rest of his body wherever visible, with a strong growth of tawny, prickly hair in hue and toughness similar to the mountain gorse, Ulex europaeus. The wide-winged nostrils, from which bristles of the same tawny hue projected, were of such capaciousness that within their cavernous obscurity, the field lark might easily have lodged her nest. The eyes, in which a tear and a smile strove ever for the mastery, were of the dimensions of a good-sized cauliflower. A powerful current of warm breath issued at regular intervals from the profound cavity of his mouth, while in rhythmic resonance the loud, strong hail reverberations of his formidable heart thundered rumblingly, causing the ground, the summit of the lofty tower, and the still loftier walls of the cave to vibrate and tremble. He wore a long, unsleeved garment of recently flayed oxhide, reaching to the knees in a loose kilt, and this was bound about his middle by a girdle of plaited straw and rushes. Beneath this he wore trews of deerskin, roughly stitched with gut. His nether extremities were encased in a Heilbergen buskins dyed in lichen purple, the feet being shod with brogues of salted cowhide, laced with the windpipe of the same beast. From his girdle hung a row of sea stones, which jangled at every movement of his portentous frame, and of these were graven with rude yet striking art the tribal images of many Irish heroes and heroines of antiquity: Cuchulainn, Conn of 100 battles, Neil of 9 hostages, Brian of Kincora, the Ardry Malachi, Art McMurrogh, Shane O'Neill, Father John Murphy, Owen Rowe, Patrick Sarsfield, Red Hugh O'Donnell, Red Jim McDermott, Sargarth Eowyn O'Growney, Michael Dwyer, Francie Higgins, Henry Joy McCracken, Goliath, Horace Wheatley, Thomas Conniff, Peg Worthington, the village blacksmith, Captain Moonlight, Captain Boycott, Dante Alighieri, Christopher Columbus, St. Fursa, St. Brendan, Marshall McMahon, Charlemagne, Theobald Wolftone, the mother of the Maccabees, the last of the Mohicans, the Rose of Castile, the man for Galway, the man that broke the bank at Monte Carlo, the man in the Gap, the woman who didn't, Benjamin Franklin, Napoleon Bonaparte, John L. Sullivan, Cleopatra, Savarnine Delish, Julius Caesar, Paracelsus, Sir Thomas Lipton, William Tell, Michelangelo Hayes, Muhammad, the Bride of Lammermoor, Peter the Hermit, Peter the Packer, Dark Rosaline, Patrick W. Shakespeare, Brian Confucius, Murtaugh Gutenberg, Patricio Velasquez, Captain Nemo, Tristan and Isolde, the first Prince of Wales, Thomas Cook and Son, the Bold Soldier Boy, Era na Pogue, Dick Turpin, Ludwig Beethoven, the Colleen Bawn, Waddler Healy, Angus the Culdee, Dolly Mount, Sidney Parade, Ben Houth, Valentine Greatrakes, Adam and Eve, Arthur Wellesley, Boss Croker, Herodotus, Jack the Giant Killer, Gautama Buddha, Lady Godiva, the Lily of Killarney, Balor of the Evil Eye, the Queen of Sheba, Aki Nabal, Joe Nagel, Alessandro Volta, Jeremiah O'Donovan Rasa, and Don Philip O'Sullivan Beer. A couched spear of acuminated granite rested by him, while at his feet reposed a savage animal of the canine tribe, whose stertorous gasps announced that he was sunk in uneasy slumber. A supposition confirmed by hoarse growls and spasmodic movements which his master repressed from time to time by tranquilizing blows of a mighty cudgel rudely fashioned out of a Paleolithic stone. So anyhow, Terry brought the 3 pints Joe was standing, and begob the sight nearly left my eyes when I saw him land out a quid. Oh, as true as I'm telling you, a good-looking sovereign. And there's more where that came from, says he. Were you robbing the poor box, Joe? Says I. Sweat of my brow, says Joe. 'Twas the prudent member gave me the wheeze. I saw him before I met you, says I, sloping around by Pill Lane and Greek Street with his cod's eye counting up all the guts of the fish. Who comes through Meakin's land, bedight in sable armor? Oh, Bloom, the son of Rory, it is he. Impervious to fear is Rory's son, he of the prudent soul. For the old woman of Princess Street, says the citizen, the subsidized organ, the pledge-bound party on the floor of the house. And look at this blasted rag, says he. Look at this. The Irish Independent, if you please, founded by Parnell to be the working man's friend. Listen to the births and deaths in the Irish All for Ireland Independent, and I'll thank you and the marriages. And he starts reading them out. Gordon Barnfield, Crescent, Exeter, Redmayne of Iffley, St. Anne's on Sea, the wife of William T. Redmayne of a son. How's that, eh? Wright and Flint, Vincent and Gillett to Rotha Marion, daughter of Rosa and the late George Alfred Gillett, 179 Clapham Road, Stockwell, Playwood and Ridsdale at St. Jude's. Kensington, by the very Reverend Dr. DeForest, Dean of Worcester, eh? Deaths, Bristow at Whitehall Lane, London. Carr, Stoke Newington of gastritis and heart disease. Coburn at the Moat House. Chepstow, I know that fellow, says Joe from bitter experience. Coburn, Dimsey, wife of David Dizzy, late of the Admiralty. Miller, Tottenham, aged 85. Welsh, June 12th at 35 Canning Street. Liverpool, Isabella Helen. How's that for a national press, eh? My brown son. How's that for Martin Murphy, the Bantry jobber? Ah, well, says Joe, handing around the booze. Thanks be to God they had the start of us. Drink that, citizen. I will, says he, honorable person. Health, Joe, says I, and all down the form. Don't be talking. I was blue moldy for want of that pint. To declare to God, I could hear it hit the pit of my stomach with a click. And so that's our tribute to James Joyce Ulysses 100th anniversary. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your time. Until next time, read harder.